Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening we have one of our favorite guests. We have Dr. Angela Celeste May. We know her as our forensically, our organizationally, and our clinically trained psychologist. She is the president and co-founder of A.M. and Associates Incorporated. She is the president and founder of Celeste Productions Incorporated. She is also an author, editor, musician, and columnist with the Michigan Women's Forum. She is also a phenomenal Michigan woman. She is a contributor with the Michigan Chronicle. She was featured in an anthology called Stars, which is scholars teaming to alleviate racism in society. And in 2023, she was given the Distinguished Psychologist Award from the Michigan Psychological Association Foundation Board. Welcome to the show, Dr. Angie. It's great to see you on our
Thank
last show of 2024.
Yes, our last show of 2024. It's great to be here as always, Kim.
Well, thank you, Dr. Angie. So I've been looking forward to this all day. Today's topic is heavy times
Mhm.
and holiday sadness. You
Mm.
know, it's Christmas time, it's December. There are Christmas trees and decorations and all kinds of things up. And last week, we had a terrible tragedy. We had a CEO who was gunned down in New York. I was just in New York. I was in Manhattan. And, it's very hard to believe walking the streets of Manhattan that somebody could just walk up to somebody and just blow them away and they die. What is ironic to me, this is the CEO of United Healthcare. And social media is an interesting animal because there have been lots of people who said, well, it's another billionaire, one less. I was like, who? And then other people were saying, well, maybe he should have been nicer to people and not deny claims. I said, oh, wait, let me read a little bit more. The anger and the vitriol that so many people are sharing about either being denied care or having to jump through hoops or, all kinds of trouble with the insurance agency. Not a lot of people have sympathy for the murder of this man. And I was watching CNN or MSNBC, one of them, on Saturday morning, and there was a guy who said, is this where we are at a society where it's okay to get up and gun down someone? And I thought, dude, this is America. We do this every day. But because this is a CEO of a company that made $27 billion in profit, yes, let's say that again with the respect it deserves from one of my favorite characters from Hannibal, who said, say it with the respectness that it is due. 27 billion. Last year, I read an estimated 23 billion in claims were denied. I said, oh, this might be why people are angry. Dr. Angie, how do we get to this place where people can be angry and kill someone? And we understand that. We've seen movies about it, different things. But as a society where people are cheering as if it was okay. The gunman was allegedly found at McDonald's. There was a worker there who reported him. The police came and arrested him. From what I understand, he had a 3D printing gun. I still don't quite understand how that works. The gun casings matched. And the McDonald's where the man was found has been reportedly under fire on social media, on reviews where different people have just lit them up and said, whoever it was the rat should be ashamed of himself. It's another reason to hate McDonald's. And I thought, well, what does McDonald's have to do with this? Because someone told. So this particular McDonald's I read had to hire security for the staff person and then also for the store and the other employees. And I thought, oh, this is something different. This isn't. So, Dr. Angie, can you sort of take us through mentally, maybe where you think a lot of people are? And I know you don't necessarily diagnose from afar, but just general observations.
Yeah, absolutely. It does feel jarring to say the least. Like you said, it kind of takes you aback. Like, wow, like you
Mhm.
said, like you asked, how do we get here? But when you ask that question, how do we get here? What immediately came to my mind actually was that it's not nearly as far a leap as we might think,
Mm.
unfortunately. And that's not just about our particular country. Um, many countries, many societies across the world have had, violent beginnings, violent foundings, violent histories. There's, all through, world history, you find that. And the United States is no different as far as the fact that we were founded this young country. What are we? A little over something over 250 years old.
Mhm.
Compared to other countries and societies, we're still pretty young as a
Mhm.
country. And it was founded in a very, bloody way and built up in a very bloody way and maintained in a very bloody way. So
Bloody way.
a very bloody way. So many of us, and that, if I may speak for you, I think that you probably have had similar sentiments when you hear people say, "Well, that's not who we are." You and I have talked about that, like, but that has been who we are,
Exactly.
unfortunately. That
Mhm.
the violence, a lot of the violence of the American United States perpetrated violence um, has been kind of not kind of whitewashed a bit, kind of from our histories. Some of the things that our fellow countrywomen, men have been involved in since the founding of the United States of America are coming out more and more. We're learning about, some of those kinds of things. So, unfortunately, it is in the DNA a bit. So, um, what we've endeavored to do prior to this moment is to try to combat that aspect of our history. Try to, like people say, appeal to our better angels. People have fought for better treatment of all kinds of folks in different groups. People, we've made strides in that. But because of those strides, which we're very very thankful for, and we continue to fight because we still don't have equality between different groups. Um, but because of the things have gotten better in many ways, it's made it easier for us to tell ourselves this story about that we are not a violent, unfortunately, a violent society. Um, but also when you were talking about, in your introduction, talking about this, how do we get here? Where this has become okay to try to make champions out of people who
Mhm.
murder. You may be mad at the company, you may be mad at some of the things the CEO has done, etc. But that doesn't mean when did it become okay to just murder somebody in cold blood?
Mhm.
What that also put me in the mind of, in terms of broader than our country, but human nature, I thought about the gladiator times. If you go all the
Mhm.
way back to before Christ, and what were fun ways? What were fun
Yes.
ways to put your prisoners to get them out in the field and have them fight a lion? Now
Mhm.
we read things that are sanitized, like and the prisoner lost. What that looks like? You know what that
Right.
looks like? I don't want to know what that looks like.
I don't wanna know either, but I have an imagination. That means the
Yeah,
lion ate him. Yes.
it's that gruesome. It's
Right.
gruesome. And people were watching this with their drinks and cheering and just having a good old fun time,
Mhm.
for the afternoon. Brought their little box lunch, stood up there. I've been to Rome, we went to the Colosseum, and you go sit up in the so unfortunately, well, I won't say unfortunately, human nature, with human
Mhm.
nature, we have the two sides. We have uh the better angels and the viciousness that's
Mhm.
kind of like, that's in there. And what we try to teach our children and try to pass along to generation after generation is how to work together, how to forgive each other, how to move forward. But because those things are not because but as those things are taught, just as those things are taught, hate is also taught.
Mhm.
And how to handle it in the opposite way, um, where you just fight, you just what is it? Fight fire. You fight fire with fire. Not that that always has to be a bad
Mhm.
thing. Depends on what the fire is about.
Right.
So it's not. So I think that that's an important place to start in answering your question. That as much of a downward spiral things have become, and I do agree things have become a downward spiral when you have a 34 convicted felon who has been, elected and chosen by just about 50%, a little over 50% of the people. That is a
Mhm.
downward spiral, because there was a time when and I don't mean individuals, but as globally speaking, generally speaking, there was a time when folks were interested in the boring details.
Mhm.
There are many folks who are still interested in the boring details, but too many people have become uneducated and ignorant, not as a put down. That
Mhm.
ignorant does not mean stupid. Ignorant
Mhm.
means you're uninformed or
Mhm.
uneducated about something. So, too many people in our population have become ignorant, uninformed about how our systems work, what is required to run the country, and all that, and have been just blinded by marketing, propaganda, and what looks like a whole lot of money. And
Mhm.
a whole lot of money does not solve our problems. And a whole lot of money is about to come into back into the White House and is bringing just like all kinds of negative problems with it. So
Yep. Yep.
um, I think all of that, from the violence to people making it okay, trying to make it okay, and justifying that cold-blooded killing and all of that, unfortunately, is weaved into our DNA and our history. So the way we got to this point was by little at a time, making it okay, until you get to this kind of point. But unfortunately, it wasn't that far a leap from our history. So,
This is true.
mhm,
And that is a great point that you made, little bit at a time. I noticed that now we have a lot of people, and we've talked about this, who are being nominated for positions. And we're like, okay, where are the qualifications?
mhm,
You don't have any qualifications to fit whatever department that you're looking to be nominated for. Not only that, you look at some of these people and you hear the things, for example, Robert Kennedy, who doesn't believe in vaccines. And I'm thinking, it's 2024.
mhm.
We have eradicated so many diseases,
Yeah.
or at least gotten to the point where it's not a public health hazard.
Mhm,
And some of the conversations that people have had about anti vaccine, different types of drugs to take, um, different things. I'm like, some of this is stuff that our great, 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 great grandmothers
mhm,
may have practiced out in the field someplace. And you might have thought it worked, but it really didn't. It was just something that people did.
mhm,
And as we're getting closer to January 20th, we're seeing corporations and different organizations talking about tariffs,
mhm,
laying people off. It's almost as if there is a perfect storm of anxiety coming,
mhm.
and a lot of people are feeling it. How do
Yeah.
we protect ourselves from the heaviness that comes from that and the fatigue that comes from that, especially during holidays? Because, I always go to my, you took my red truck back in 1974, Dr. Angie. You know you took it, and I'm
I
mad
said,
at you. And now here we are, polar, as the dictionary said, the word of the year is polarization. So
oh,
here we are, polarized. You on one side, I'm on my side. Don't you touch my mashed potatoes, because you probably gonna take my red truck like you did in 1974. Because you know you ain't give it back. While your mama screaming out, talking about something, let the red truck go.
you're
No,
right.
I'm angry about it. How do family members and people, because there's the big thing on social media where people are like, I don't have to hang with them people, they not wanting. So a lot of people are having fractions within their families where people are like, oh, are
Mhm,
you part of those people that voted for the Republican administration? Are we not talking to you? And then you have the other people who are like, oh, You voted for that black woman? We don't want you either. And
Mhm.
it's just like everybody's butting heads. How do
Yeah.
we protect ourselves? How do we build up our mental wellness tanks?
Well, I love the analogy that you said about building up and filling tanks, because that's what we have to do. We have to do a few things related to that's a perfect analogy. We'll just take that a few things related to that. So when we think about filling tanks, like filling your car, keep your car full.
Mhm,
One of the things that I try to practice, I may not always get it done, but for the most part, when people say it's better to try to keep your gas tank half full
mhm,
because it costs less to take it, from low
mhm,
all the way to past half full. I would say that that's similar. I love your tanks, filling the tanks, analogy, because I would say that it's a similar thing. It can become easier. Doesn't mean it's not a challenge, or it may still be challenging, but it can become easier to inoculate ourselves against being dragged down into depression and allowing the anxiety to take over and things like that if we practice keeping our tanks at least half full to full, which means we need to check in with ourselves. We need to pay attention to how we're feeling. Um, and that means things to look out for, like sometimes if depression is creeping up on you or anxiety is increasing, you may or may not be aware of it because you might not know what to look for. So
mhm,
you might think, I mentioned this what was it, generalized anxiety syndrome last time we talked, where you kind of get to a point of anxiety and then you stay there, you sort of live there, and it becomes like a norm, and so it feels quote unquote normal, um, so much so that we don't realize the damage that we're taking in and how it's affecting our physical and mental health. So
mhm,
things to look for are things like changing your sleep pattern. Are you sleeping more? Are you having a harder time getting to sleep? Are you having more insomnia? Or a lot of times people think of insomnia as difficulty getting to sleep, which is true. But then it can also be you could fall asleep maybe fairly easily, but then you don't stay asleep. You're waking up a lot. So sleep pattern changes, that can be an indicator that maybe your tank is getting a little on the emptier side, and perhaps that could be a sign of some depression or anxiety that's increasing, within you. Changes in appetite. If you're eating more and it's not because, if you're eating more, I'll say not because you're just so starved, although emotional hunger can feel like physical hunger, but checking in with yourself to see if are you having less of an appetite? Are you feeling you want to eat more? Those kinds of day-to-day changes. Are you feeling more tired, but you're not quite pinpointing why? Do you feel more hypervigilant, where you kind of like anxiously, every little sound, you just feel a sense of doom? Um, so checking in with ourselves on a regular basis, and filling our tanks by having someone trusted in our circle, in our support circle, our support group, or even if it's just one support person, or even if it's a therapist, or whomever it may be, somebody at church, whatever, whom you can talk to, whom you feel you can trust, whom you can share some of your feelings with. That's a way of getting some of those things off your chest, up and out. Does it solve everything that may be coming down the pike? No, but it helps to keep your own personal tank from starting on zero, as things are thrown at us, as we are inundated with things that might be coming. And to the point about the support group, the support circle, um, if you feel like that you don't have one, I encourage people to try to reach out and rethink that. And if there's someone that you had been connected with at a time and maybe lost contact, and you all always got along well, you always felt safe and comfortable with that person, maybe reach out. Like I said, it could be someone at church, it could be your minister, pastor, it could be a therapist, or someone that you can who can help you carry some of those burdens with the things on your mind. All of those things can be helpful. Um, I've talk often about writing your feelings down, journaling, not just your feelings, that I shouldn't say just writing your feelings down, because that's very important. I don't want to minimize that. Then writing about of course, talk about gratefulness journals too, which are very powerful. They seem simple, like, okay, yeah, I'll write down a couple, count your blessings. But it is really important because that too, um, it draws our attention to the joyful things, because there are still joyful things going on, um, uh, in our lives and around us, and it can help shine the light on that. Because someone was saying recently that, I think it was happiness. I know it was Nikki Giovanni. She
She
passed,
just passed.
the
Yeah.
great poet, our great American poet and writer and speaker and educator. And she was, it was an interview I was looking at with her, from a few years ago, and she was talking about how they were asking about her, are you happy, that kind of thing, and she was saying happiness is a choice, which I
Mhm.
definitely believe that. I agree with that. That there are habits, as I've talked about it in the past, mental habits that build up or tear down our mental and emotional well-being, which is tied to our physical well-being as well. So if you have
Mhm.
a mental habit of always berating yourself or berating others, sometimes we don't even hear ourselves, but it just quickly becomes like a snowball effect down the hill, more and more, always complaining about this, complaining about that. And that takes a toll, because those kinds of attitudes, that kind of habitual thinking and statements deplete our tanks, as just like it would deplete our tanks if we have someone in our lives who's always nitpicking at us, and always like putting daggers, throwing knives and daggers at us, always something negative, always. It takes a toll. So that's a part of checking in also, about, what are my daily thoughts, what are my daily habits. And like any habit, you have to put effort in to try and turn some of that around a little bit. And you try,
Mhm.
you fail, you try. We won't say fail, but you try, you stumble, until after a while your habit becomes hopefully one of more glasses half full than glasses half empty.
Mhm.
That does
Mhm.
not mean we're tiptoeing through the tulips and just dancing through the daisies and just don't know what's going on and not paying attention to what's going on. But there is yin and yang. There is balance out here. The sunshine still is warm and beautiful. It's
Mhm.
so those kinds of habits, checking in, paying attention to our thoughts, our statements, our feelings, our sleep habits, our appetites, all of those things tell us a lot about where we are, and if we're kind of slipping down a negative. Um, and if we cultivate the opposite, if we cultivate, not to just tiptoe through the tulips, although that can just be very therapeutic. You just want to go find some tulips and just go tiptoe through them. And you're out in the sunshine, you're in the fresh air, you hear a couple birds, and you got some tulips. Don't step on the tulips, just tiptoe around them. And it feels nature, it feels good. But if we cultivate more of that positive, based on real things, like,
Mhm.
really am thankful for my children. I really am thankful for, you name the things. The more you name them, focus on them, journal about those positive things, the more you have, it undergirds the things that you can build on. It contributes to problem solving, because what any of us don't want to do, don't know what kind of grammar that may have been, but what any of us don't want to do is what the people that we consider our enemies, who are trying to have us be downtrodden, whether it's the devil himself, people the devil has hired,
Or
uh,
his representative.
this representative, first representative, exactly. What they want, what folks would want us to do, us meaning those who are fighting for a more just and fair society, fighting for more small d democratic values, all that. What they would like for us to do is to give up, and just go somewhere and just lay down and give up, and just let folks authoritarian instincts just take over and run everybody. And the quickest way to get to giving up, one of the quickest ways, is that constant negative downward kind of inner conversation and outer conversation, because what it leads to is, oh well, it's just, why keep bothering, why bother to keep trying? It's just not getting anywhere. That negative all the time. Focusing on the victories, counting the blessings. What are the things that we're are happy about, thankful for, that we can build on? all of those things also speak to our values. And what do we fight for? Ultimately, we're fighting for our values. Some people will say we're fighting for the American way, we're fighting for American values, democratic values, whatever they may be, your Christian walk, your whatever, there's always a reason to fight the good fight in a positive way, to fight in terms of pushback, you know. So yeah, that it sounds like, oh well, yeah, we can be kind of positive, but how's that getting anything done? Inherent in problem solving is positivity, because problem solving requires hope. Otherwise, why would you be doing it?
Right.
So yeah, so all of those things, all of those things. To
So those are some great tips, but it made me think of something.
Mm,
So the leader of our Republican-led incoming administration, he yarns on or rails on about negative things. This person was mean to me. This person did this. I got to get revenge, retribution, all these things. And it is like this negative loop that we're
mm,
in every time he opens his mouth.
yeah.
And so, what I hear you saying is that we have to counteract that with positivity,
Mhm.
remembering who we are, what
Yes.
our values are, and
Mhm.
our support systems to be
Yeah.
able to push back against some of that so that we don't end up with those comorbidities.
Exactly. Exactly.
um
That's right.
Guys, that was a joke because we talked about this before the interview, and I was like, I know what that word means. I was really proud of myself, really excited.
As you
Um,
should. Yeah.
yes. So, Dr. Angie, before we get out of here, what do you think is the general diagnosis for Trump? Is
Okay.
it Yes,
Wait, wait, I didn't know this.
I'm putting you on the spot. I'm putting you on the spot. This wasn't
That's okay.
only because so when we talk about comorbidities,
Mm,
I believe we probably have an issue with high blood pressure. There
mm,
may be some diabetes issues. There may be some prostate issues.
mhm,
There's been issues where he has been said to have to wear a diaper. So to
mm.
me, that says you got problems with the bladder or other things actually happening. And just wondering, does any of that play into the mental health of someone who's stepping into that role?
Oh, well, absolutely. It. Well, let me just start by saying, any of those things, or even all of those things, don't have to equal negative for someone stepping into that role of presidency. But of course, that would depend on how the person handles it, deals with it. If they make adult diapers for a reason. There are people who need them and use them, and
Yes.
so that they can continue to live their lives and do what they need to do and enjoy their families and all the rest. Nothing wrong with that. Um,
Right.
However, if you're just in denial and denial, and you're pretending, and you're gonna act like you're invincible, and you're gonna pretend that you're Superman and all this kind of stuff, then that is not a healthy approach
Mhm.
necessarily. And therefore, well, it's not a healthy approach because it's built on pretense and
Yes.
denial. Uh,
Mhm.
so that's not a good foundation for stepping into this extremely high role of the presidency. Those other things that you mentioned, same thing. We know that there are many people with diagnosis who diagnosed with diabetes, who are handling their diabetes. They're doing what they need to do. They're
Mhm.
staying in contact with their physicians. They're trying to make lifestyle changes. All of those good, healthy things that we speak about when we're talking about a holistically healthy person, meaning mental, physical, emotional, all of those things.
Mhm.
Um, this incoming administration is led by someone who, perhaps in privacy, away from the public and the cameras, might acknowledge some physical challenges and things like that. Maybe that's possible. Uh, and but however, the forward facing public face that he gives is one of, again, always pretending like, uh, he's got some kind of Superman cape on,
Mhm.
which is not realistic or in reality. So to your question, yes, uh, any one of those things, and definitely the collection of some of those challenges, physical, mental challenges that you named, could definitely be a problem for someone, for anyone, let alone somebody who's coming into that, highest
Mhm.
spot on the land, when they're not realistically dealing with what all that comes with. Um, because because we're all, holistic individuals, so our mentality affects our bodies and vice versa. So if you are mentally worrying all of the time and
Mhm.
feeling mentally stressed, we know that has a direct relationship to cardiovascular health and high blood pressure and all that. So they definitely work hand in hand. um,
Mhm.
so yeah, you may be right in terms of what might be going on with him physically, because ethically we don't diagnose from a distance, as I, as we
Yes.
always say, of course. But having said that, we put that out there first. Things that are forward facing, things that are in the public domain, we can comment upon what we see without
Mhm.
making a formal diagnosis. So what do we see? Well, Kim, we see a man who is not fit. He's, I mean, because he's overweight. He is overweight,
Yes.
and he's pretending that he is not.
Mhm.
There are other, it's just simply because we're talking about politicians and stuff. So sticking with that,
Mhm.
there are other politicians. I was particularly thinking of the former governor of New Jersey, who is very much
Mhm.
overweight. So he's an example of someone who is not pretending. He's been asked about that publicly because he is very much overweight, and he says his answers that I have heard have been to the public. Yes, I do struggle with weight, like a lot of Americans do, like a lot of people do.
Mhm.
I try to
Mhm.
work on it. It's a daily struggle for me.
Mhm.
I am in no way a champion of this particular person. I am not his greatest fan. I think that he's made some statements that make sense, and then he's done
Mhm.
several other things that I don't agree with. But
Mhm.
for him to stand up and say that, it shows maturity.
Mhm.
It shows honesty. It
Mhm.
shows a willingness to grapple with the realities of his physical challenges, etc. None of these things have, I would say, I would say that I have not seen evidence of um, the head of the Republican Party doing the same,
I
taking
agree.
responsibility, any of those things. And the last thing I will say is, just in terms of public facing, there's a collection of habits, behaviors, statements, etc. Etc. That could suggest one or two mentally diagnosed conditions.
Mhm.
Could
Mhm.
suggest, at a distance, kind of uh, checks off many of the boxes for a few different, at least a
Mhm.
couple different diagnoses. But
Mhm.
I will not say what they are at this time publicly. But
Well, thank you, Dr. Angie. I appreciate that.
absolutely. Something's there.
Yes, there are
Something's
some
there.
things there, but we're going to let it stay there
Yes.
because this is our last show of 2024. How any last thoughts before we end the show?
Yes. Well, first of all, I would invite your international audience to join me in applauding Kimberly Batchelor Davis for her this fantastic platform that she's created, that you created this wonderful platform. And every month you have all these, wonderful guests with these important and deep and rich conversations. I know that you are a busy woman. You have a
Thank
busy
you.
life doing all kinds of amazing things for your family and in the community, but still you make time for this, and it's so important that you do. And I am not the only one, but we appreciate that you do it. I appreciate that I get to be part of it, and thank you for asking me to come back. Um, the parting words that I would say for people, all of your watchers and people around the world, is, first of all, I would say congratulations. Congratulations that, even though we definitely we've had struggles and we have lost some loved ones for sure who've passed due to COVID and all that, but the level of the pandemic, at least at this moment, is in our rearview mirror. So
Mhm.
congratulations that we have come to this point, that we've made it to the end of 2024. If you've made it to the end of 2024, for any of your loved ones who passed before 2024, I only wish for you a faith and a belief in your Maker and a higher power and in the Lord, who is kind enough to take us at times in which it's time for different ones, and it's all the ebb and flow of life. So when we have funerals and things like that, many of us do call them celebrations because we want to celebrate each
Mhm.
precious life. So I just want to encourage everyone around the world to look in the mirror and develop the habit of smiling at yourself. I congratulate everyone for making it this far, that we have come to the end of 2024, and encourage us that everyone, you all have multiple gifts and talents and ideas and creativity. So gather it all up, appreciate it, hug it, and then throw it over your back and drag it into 2025. Because we're going to need all of that goodness. We're going to need
Yes,
all
we
the
are.
talents, the gifts, the brain power to bless us in coming in the new year. So, my peace and blessings to everyone, to you, Kim, and I thank you again. This is a wonderful platform, and kudos to you. This is yet another Black woman success. Yet another. Yes. It's a wonderful thing. It is a
Yes,
beautiful, wonderful thing.
yes, it is. All right, Dr. Angie. So tell us how we can reach you. Tell us how we can follow you on social media, and tell us what you have coming up in the new year.
Ah, well, things are kind of like relaxing a little bit after a very, 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 very busy and like eventful year, a year of blessings. Excuse me, challenges and blessings, as we all have had. I can be reached on. I'm about to, what little presence I have on Twitter, I'm about to about to exit from there. So we won't mention X at this time. But you can find me on Facebook at Angela Celeste May, or you can find me on Facebook at Dr. Angela Celeste May, which is my music Facebook page, or you can find me at AMAssociates.com. That's I'm sorry, AMA Associates on Facebook. So all of those are Facebook presence. The AMA one is for my sister Michelle and our company AMA and Associates. So all of those places are on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Angela Celeste May, or AMA Associates on Instagram as well. That's companies over there. I have a YouTube channel. Again, my name, Angela Celeste May. I predominantly deal with music stuff on the YouTube channel. So vocal quick tips, understanding genres of music, different set list playlists. So check it out there. What else? I am on LinkedIn also. And the social media wise, that's I think pretty much where I am at this
Mhm.
moment. Also Reverb Nation, REVERB as in boy Nation / Angela Celeste May. That's a music page that I have there, so that's how you can find me there. um what else? If you want to reach out to me, you can do so at CELESTE M as in Mary, US, or as in music, and the number one at AOL.com. So Celeste, MUS, the number one at AOL.com for any music related things you want to reach out to me about, and I'll answer that. You can find my two CDs, music for my two CDs in purchase from Reverb Nation. Also, iTunes was my latest album is there, reintroducing the lady, and my book. Freedom, which I don't have in front of me, but Freedom, What is the Experience of Living Without Negative Self-Imposed Limitations? You can find that at barnesandnoble.com, also on Amazon. And that's a book with it's got 7 themes in it that came out of the research that I had done with some wonderful folks with very, very different backgrounds, and the similar themes were how they were able to get free from places in their lives that were stuck in various ways. So some good tips that we could all learn from that book. As far as what I have coming up, other than like winding down for the holidays, I've got a few gatherings, parties, and things to go to, and etc. What do I have in the new year? AMA and Associates, my company, with my sister, we do counseling, consulting, and coaching. Um, I have a stress management for particularly Black men,
Mhm.
coaching / month-long class kind of workshop that that I put on the back burner. I've done set aside because of other things I was doing this year. So I hope to pick that up again in the new year as far as coaching is concerned. My sister's retreat that she did under our company, her first in-person retreat for creative professionals was very successful. So she's already starting to advertise, beginning to for another one next year in the fall. So that will be coming up. I will be performing um, for Heather Buchanan, her
Mhm.
wonderful book, which is called Victors, just came out. It's on Amazon, and she co-wrote music for it. So we're taking that on the road. My brother will be drumming, and I will be singing, and we'll have a couple of other people performing as well. And we're going to be at the Artist Workshop in Times Square in New York on
Nice.
Thursday of Easter weekend. So we'll be there. We will also be, I don't have dates yet, but we'll be doing that also in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And at where are we going? We're also going, we'll be doing some more traveling. Okay. Traveling around the country performing that. So that's exciting. That'll be fun. Um, and I serve on various boards, etc. And so I'll continue doing that. And some of my own music that I have written, I've been talking about putting together a third album. So I'm gonna jump back on that, and I've got more writing to do. So we shall see. It's all kinds of cool stuff coming.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you again, Dr. Angie. We love having you on the Kim B. Davis Show, and we can't wait until after we've all had a nice break and a
Yeah,
nice rest to
yeah,
come back in January 2025 with
yeah.
another exciting topic. Thank you again.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you guys for tuning into the Kim B. Davis Show. You know me as your host, Kim B. Davis. It's actually Kimberly Batchelor Davis. Bachelor is spelled Batchelor. You can find me everywhere on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Spill, Fanbase. I still am on X. Don't really do much on there, but you can find me. Um, but just look for Kimberly Batchelor Davis. Typically, I'm probably there. If you would like to see the show, you can see it on youtube.com/Kimberly Batchelor Davis. If you'd like to hear the show, you can hear it on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Wisdom, and Audible. If you would like to learn more about me as an author, go to kimbdavis.com and you can see all the things that I have. And I have 2 more books coming out in 2025, so that will be exciting. And if you'd like to send me an email, you can send me an email at kimberly@kimberlybachelordavis.com. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you'll join us on our next show. Happy holidays, happy new year to you, and always remember, be magnificent.